Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Slightly earlier than usual, but that's because the kickoff was slightly earlier. All perfectly logical. Welcome to you. Happy weekend. Welcome to the CBS Arena here at Coventry. I'd like to do a welcome. It's very quiet and empty. It's good. It's quite late, actually, after the game. And the sun is setting. The sun was very awkward in people's eyes today during the game. That said, didn't really impact the result. Just made Tim Krul wear a cap for a bit. What a day. You can see I put the score up there. Norwich have won 4-2 here at Coventry. They've scored 8 goals in 2 games in the Championship under David Wagner. Both of them wins, both away from home. And a nice position, of course, to be in when you employ a new head coach and you want a reaction. It's been a great reaction. It's been a good reaction in terms of how Norwich have gone about it, as much as what the actual results has been and what it's looked like. So happy days all round, and this was a curious game, but a good game all the same, and actually a really good, really interesting game for me. I found, and I'm sure you will have done if you were watching at home, or you'll get to see the highlights or what have you. But really interesting. David Wagner wasn't happy with the first half, which saw 5 goals. Norwich were 3-0 up, and then they conceded a couple before we got to half time, and he wasn't happy with the first half, and he tried to correct a few things going then into the second. And the second half, Norwich, the second half quality-wise from both teams in the final third kind of reduced. It was sort of end-to-end, lots of gaps in the first half, and it was just quite a lot of fun, but probably primarily because Norwich were winning. The second half was a bit cagier, and it was shorter on quality, but also Norwich had they had some control. They didn't really ever have control of the first half. They did have control of the second half. They were able to manoeuvre themselves into just some really good counter-attacking opportunities. And to be honest, they probably should have won 5-6-2, something like that in the end. The second half was really impressive, and it was interesting that Norwich were just able to probably pick their moments to keep the ball a bit. I probably will write something on this, but they kept the ball in good times. Whereas what I would say about the first half was, even when Norwich was, well, maybe not when they were 3-0 up, but from the start of the first half, Coventry were looking much more capable than Preston ever did of causing Norwich problems. They pressed them quite high. They put Norwich under pressure, and actually they looked like they could take advantage of the gaps that were there at the back. And they did that whilst it was 0-0. And then basically Norwich also looked like scoring every time they got into the final third. That was the key thing. And it will probably be this balance, certainly in the first half of games, where Norwich are, to a degree, they are trying to balance their potency in the final third and getting numbers forward. Again, really attacking lineup, completely unchanged. They're trying to balance that potency up in the attacking third with the gaps they are probably going to leave in transition behind them. Dimi Anulis was taken off at half time. David Wagner eventually admitted it wasn't a particularly good first half performance from him. It is the sort of thing we've seen from Dimi. He can have holes to his game defensively. Sam then looked secure in the second half, but it was not just about the two left backs. It was also about what was going on around them to a degree, and the support they were getting and the spaces they were taking up and others were taking up. So you can't really hang it out on one person, obviously. But, Dimi, whether the left back battle was something that we were dealing with earlier in the season, and it was just interesting that was something that popped up today. And again, that was probably interesting for me, in that, there were that first, I have to say, there were elements of the first half. I know people are looking at it and, it's like 5 goals and where the hell does this all come from? But there were elements in the first half, I thought, was, again, where Norwich were getting a little bit deep at times, and they were chasing the ball a bit, and they were a little bit uncoordinated. And it was like some of the bad habits, really, from their poor performances in that first half, which, again, they sort of ironed out in the second. I'm not going to start sounding negative. Like, the way Norwich attacked was brilliant. They were brilliantly clinical when they went forward. They did get a bit of luck because the first goal came from an own goal from a corner, but Norwich put a lot of pressure on by that point. Onel Hernandez scored a wonderfully taken second, and then the third was a great finish from Sargent, but a really wonderfully worked goal from Gabriel Sara's ball in behind. The timing of Teemu Pukki's run was just exceptional, because initially I thought he's offside. He just timed it so well. And then Sargent with a really clinical finish. And nice to see them sharing the goals about, because I've just done something for someone on someone else in the Championship, and one of their key components is just how much they've shared the goals around. So it's going to be crucial for Norwich to do that if they want to have success this season, whatever success obviously looks like. So yeah, it was probably the first half was just a bit excessive. It was probably excessively attacking compared to the game against Preston, and excessively wholly at the back in the first half, and then the second half was just a controlled version of both elements. So and that's probably what you should expect from a squad that is still more than capable at this level, a new head coach, and work to build up. So yeah, really good in terms of how they dealt with what they got on the pitch. Coventry, I do like Coventry. I think they play some nice stuff. Gyökeres is I thought he was exceptional in patches today, and very good for most of the game. They did get 2 goals back. One, I thought Gyökeres had scored, which I think was the second, but it was actually Casey Palmer, who was actually good today, I thought, as well. Side-footing it just ahead of him, but it was a really nice move. And the first goal was a decent finish from Alan, wasn't it? Yes, Alan. And then Norwich scored the goal that put the game to bed, which I always felt it would, which again, got a bit of fortune in the build-up, but Sam McCallum had played a really good part in that, got the ball in, found Kieran Dowell, who then took time and produced a lovely finish for his 3rd goal in 2 games, I think. I have just come up with that off the top of my head. But lovely to see Kieran Dowell continuing. There were some issues, but I thought in the second half he really, really helped run the game, which is what you want him to see. I've never seen Teemu have cramp. He's not a player who I think has had cramp unless he's literally, worked his backside off loads. So interesting that he went off with cramp today. So he's obviously being worked in training, which is good to see. Obviously, and Adam Eder was lively when he came on too. And yeah, I think on the pitch that's a good position for Norwich to be in now that they've got a fortnight off before the David Wagner's first Championship game at home at Carrow Road. So that's going to be interesting, especially off the back of these 2 games. And it's also the visit from the leaders, Burnley, runaway leaders at the moment. So really, really interesting game that's going to come up in a fortnight's time. This was a great occasion from the start, because although it was 12:30 kickoff and all these sort of things, we had 2,700 Norwich fans here today. They were just right there. And they made a brilliant noise throughout. It was a proper atmosphere. It was across the stadium. I have to say, it felt like a proper game. These are two big clubs, certainly for the level they're playing at. But the supporters were great. Made a racket. Looked a great sight for so much when I could see when the sun wasn't directly behind them. And that moment does emphasise just where it all went so wrong, but also the things that are now going right. And so for all the issues that there are still about that didn't necessarily get resolved with the change of head coach, it's just magical to see that the fans are just enjoying it. What more can you want than players scoring goals, the team picking up points, and the fans enjoying themselves? Literally, whatever happens, however a season is going, it's all any fan really wants. And that is just perfect. And a lovely position to just take a pause, let the transfer window get closed, and then we'll see how everything goes on from there. And a really fitting, we had an 8th minute applause for Amber, who we all sadly lost, of course, which is I think a very reflective moment for everyone. The first team squad took a picture with a shirt for her, with the crowd behind them, and there were some visibly emotional scenes with Amber's parents and also some of the players. So I can't even imagine what they are going through. But I hope that this was just one of those moments that when everything is tough, people can just go, oh, but, yeah, that was special. And I'm sure people will be working hard to make sure there's a fantastic legacy from losing Amber that lots of people do benefit from in the future. And I hope everyone will give that all the support they can, and that Amber's Army proves a proper success going forwards. And I think on that note, it's the right time to move on. So have a lovely time, whatever it is that you're doing over the coming days and weeks. I'll be back at Carrow Road in a fortnight. We'll do an On The Ball podcast on Monday. I hope you listened to last week's, which was euphoric. I mean, let's be honest. Everything coming out from Norwich City at the moment is euphoria. Has today done anything to dampen the euphoria? Absolutely not. Let's go euphoric. Euphoric? Let's do that. So yeah, I'll see you for the On The Ball podcast on Monday. No, I won't. I'm not on it. But the podcast will be taking place. So do that. I'm at the Fan Social Club Mental Health Awareness Evening on Monday night. So if you're going to be there, say hello. I'm looking forward to that too. And if you'd like to come along on Monday night. It's going to be a great one at Carrow Road. We're done. I need to cough. Todd Cantwell, I would imagine his deal to Rangers will be sorted very soon. We'll see if Norwich do any business during the transfer window themselves. On that note, I shall remove that. My thumb is freezing, and I will bid you adieu until Carrow Road in a fortnight's time, which is very exciting. Have a lovely evening, and enjoy the win and enjoy the goals. So many goals. Laters!